All right, everybody. Right now we are going to learn exactly how to do our Photopea tutorial. And this is what you might have missed on day one, but this is going to be the whole tutorial in case you missed day one and day two. So the first thing that you're going to do is, this is called your desktop, this open area right here, this whole background. And this whole background right here, you're going to click anywhere on it with 2 fingers on your mouse pad, like this. And you're going to click new folder. And with that new folder, you're going to delete that and you're going to name it Photopea, and then your first name and your last name, okay? After that, you're going to open up Safari. And in Safari, I want you to go to Google Classroom. You can Google it like this. Let it load. You're going to go to Classroom from here. Then you're going to sign in, all right? Once we've signed in, sorry about that. You can click Save Password if you want to, because you're going to be using this computer. Give it a little time to load. Sometimes it's slow. All right. Now, you're going to go to your Google Classroom. Again, mine's going to look a little different than yours because I have the teacher view, but I'm going to click on my class. And then from there, once it loads, I'm going to click on classwork. Then I'm going to click on this right here, digital art tutorial folder. And it'll pop up, and go ahead and click on that Photopea tutorial folder. Go ahead and open that. You're going to notice that I have some files here, and then I have another folder here. The first thing I want to do is I want to click on this one that says remove background from this butterfly. Double click with one finger, and up in the right hand corner, go ahead and hit download. All right, it's going to say scan from viruses. It's going to pop up and say, do you want to allow downloads on Google Drive? Yes, go ahead and click allow, and that's downloading right there. It's going to pop up. I'm going to X out of that. The next thing I'm going to do is click back here, and then I'm going to double click on this folder here so it opens up. So double click files for Cat Tunnel. There's 4 files in here. You're going to download this one, X out of it once it downloads, click the arrow, download this one, the Wrecking Ball, close out of that, download this one, and then download the final one. And I know I've reached the final one when I can no longer see an arrow here. So it gives me the arrow on the left side, but not on the right side. So I'm done with that for now. And what I want to do is I want to move all the files that I just downloaded into my folder that I put on the desktop. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to minimize my screen right here, my Safari. I'm going to click the yellow minimize. And I'm going to click on my little guy right here, Finder. I'm going to click on Finder. And it can look at the recents, or I could look at downloads, either one, okay? And I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag them one by one. I can pick it up and move it into my folder. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and close out of that. All right. So now if I double click on that and open it, I have 5 files in my Photopea folder. So I can X out of that. And because we're going to be using this stuff on the internet, and if something happens and you can't log back into your computer, we also want to move this folder onto Google Drive. So we're going to pick up down here off of our dock. This is called our dock down here. I'm going to pick my Safari back up, and I'm going to click right here on My Drive. I don't want to be in that specific folder anymore. I'm going to click on My Drive. Mine's going to look a little different than yours, but I want to click New Folder Upload, because we're going to upload that whole folder, okay? And right here, I can't see it. But in order to find that folder that I'm uploading, I'm going to go ahead and click Desktop, and then click that Photopea folder. And that's going to upload that entire folder. Mine's going to say that. I'm going to replace my folder that's there. And it's uploading, all right? Now, if I go look, it says I have my folder, so I can click on my folder. And there's my files for my folder. Again, mine looks a little bit different because I have this from another class that's already set up, but in your drive, you should have a folder with those photos. Okay, so those are all there. So now what we're going to do is open up a new tab. And the way to open a new tab is to click right here on this plus sign. So I'm going to click plus sign, and now I'm going to look up Photopea. Photopea is an online digital editor that is, it says right here, is very similar to Photoshop. So if in the future you use Photoshop, you'll know how to do it. It's very similar, but I want you guys to learn how to do this because it's free and we don't have the money for doing Photoshop for all these computers. So go ahead and click out of that giant X. The most important thing to remember about Photopea is that it's web-based. So if I close out of this on accident, whatever I'm working on in here for Photoshop is going to disappear. So we want to make sure we don't ever close out of Safari unless we are ready to be done with it for the day. So go ahead and click New Project. We're going to label this project Butterfly. And then it's showing right here the size of my picture is 1,280 pixels by 720 pixels. And that's a long horizontal picture. We want it to be vertical. So we're going to click on these two arrows right here. And now we can see that it's going to be a vertical picture. And then go ahead and click Create from that. All right, this is what you should have. Think of this as your blank canvas or blank paper from when you start a project. So I'm going to scoot my little guy over here a little bit, and then I'm going to go pick up Finder again. And in Finder, I want to go to the desktop and then open up my folder. And I want to move my butterfly picture onto my canvas. And the way that I do that is I click and then I hold my finger down and drag it until it gets into my picture. And there it is. It has now appeared. All right. A few things to know about how this works. Right now you can see I have little squares around my photograph. That means that it's in edit mode and in move mode, so I can pick it up and move it around. If you don't have that, you can click right here on this picture, this little, it's called a move tool. And my move tool is how I pick things up. But I can't resize my butterfly. Let's say I want to make it bigger or smaller. I can't make it bigger or smaller unless I toggle right here, transform controls. And you can see that turns on and off my little squares. So if I want to resize my butterfly and make it bigger, I can go like this. However, what just happened was it made my butterfly look distorted. Instead, I want to hold down the Shift button on my keyboard, and I can resize that way. When I hold down Shift, making it bigger or smaller, it keeps it in its original dimensions. All right, let's say I made it too big. If I want to send it back to how it was, I'm going to, on my controls of my keyboard, I'm going to hit Command Z. And that's going to send it back to how it was originally. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we want to remove the green background from our butterfly. So we're going to click Select, Magic Cut, and it's going to come into this. Magic Cut is this really cool thing where it deletes everything in the background. It reads off colors using the green, gray, and red colors up here. If you look closely on my butterfly right here, you can see that there's some green areas on here. That green is saying, hey, I want to keep that butterfly. And then the red around the edges is saying, I don't want the background. So if I play around with it, let's say I want to have more of the background, I can kind of put some green in, and that'll drop anything in that color zone. That'll drop that into here. So I'm going to Control Z and get out of that. I have my butterfly, and then I want to add a couple leaves. So I'm going to have my green selected here, and I'm going to put a dot here. Ooh, that's too much, and a dot here. Now, that's too much, so I want to go ahead and select the red, and the red means no, and I'm going to make a mark in the background like that. I'm not specifically coloring anything in, y'all. I am literally just making a mark like, hey, I want this general color. I want this general color. No, I don't want that. If you don't like the areas that you have selected, you can go ahead and click the gray, and the gray is an eraser, and you can erase what you have selected there with the red or the green. It erases either. All right, so we're gonna have a little red in our background, and this is what I want my butterfly to look like. I should have my butterfly, and then I should have some leaves. And when I have that, I'm gonna go ahead and click, if this should say new layer, make sure it says new layer. It should be set to that, and go ahead and click OK. Now I have my butterfly back here, and it's deleted the background. The last thing you're going to do for this is pick up your butterfly and move it down to the corner. We want to have the leaves coming out of the corner. We don't want a little white border like that. We don't want to have a little white border. We want to make sure that our butterfly is down coming out of the corner in the leaves. That is all you're doing for this part of the tutorial. So to save that file, you're going to click File, Export As, because we're going to export it. and we're going to export it as a JPEG.jpg. This means that we are done editing it and we don't want to touch it anymore. Click Save. Again, go ahead and allow those downloads, and then it is downloaded. We want to put that download, we can minimize this, we want to put our download back into our Photopea folder here. So to do that, we're going to open up Finder, we're going to go to Downloads, we're going to click Butterfly, and we're just going to drag that right in there. We also need to put it into our drive. So go back to your drive, open up your Photopea tutorial folder, your Photopea Lindsay Janko, or whatever your name is, New, and this time we're going to click File Upload rather than Folder Upload, and you're going to upload your butterfly. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now my butterfly is in my folder. Great job, guys. That's from tutorial number 1. All right, everybody, we're back for the second part of our tutorial. So right now I'm sitting in my little drive. I want to open up a new tab and go back to Photopea. So Google Photopea, you can even just click on it like that. And this time we're going to do a new project and we're going to create a little cat picture. So go ahead and click New Project. And this time let's title it Cat. And we're going to change this. The last time we left this alone and just clicked the arrow. This time we're going to change it to inches. And it's going to say 17.78 by 10. Change your width to 11 and your height to 9. All right, so 11 by 9, and then hit create. It should look like this. The first thing we're going to drop in here is our tunnel. So I'm going to click Finder, I'm going to click Desktop and find my folder, and I'm going to grab that tunnel picture and drop it in. I can X out of that. And now I want to resize my tunnel so that it is the size of my canvas. Remember, I don't want to just drag it and make it wonky like this. I want to hold down Shift and make it just about big enough, pick it up, move it so that it fits like perfectly on my canvas. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we want to keep what our tunnel looks like, but we want to delete the sky in it. So to delete the sky, we're going to do the same thing we did with the butterfly and click Select, Magic Cut, except this time it decided that it wanted to keep the sky and delete everything around it, which is not what we want. So we're going to originally start, we're going to click our gray, and we're going to erase everything that it's been saying. We don't want anything on here. We're going to completely start over. So erase everything, all the red and all the green. Erase it all, holding down your finger while you're erasing. All right. And then we're going to click the red across the sky. And then we'll do some green here. And it might take a little tweaking. You can play around with it. Oops, that was too much. So we'll have to go back and do some more red. It really is a touch and go. There, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and make sure it says new layer and click OK. Now my sky is deleted. The next thing we're going to do is click on Finder again, and we're gonna drag our cat in there. X out of that. Now, I want my cat to be behind my tunnel because I want it to look like, instead of him peeking out of his toy, I want him to be peeking out of my tunnel. So over here is where my layers are. I'm going to pick up this layer right here, and I'm going to move it down below the tunnel. So again, I picked it up and I moved it back. Now I can see my cat here. Now, he's a little big for what I want. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to make him a little bit smaller like this. Perfect. So we have our cat, maybe a little smaller on this side. And there's our cat picture. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to replace this little cat toy here. We want to cover that up with a wrecking ball. So it looks like he's playing with a wrecking ball rather than the cat toy. So open up Finder again, grab your wrecking ball picture and drop it in. Now this time it drops my wrecking ball behind my tunnel, which is not where I want it. So I'm going to pick that up and move it to the front. Okay, I have my wrecking ball here, and I want to delete everything on here except for my wrecking ball. So I'm going to go ahead and click Select, Magic Cut, and it kept a lot of it, but I want to do some red in those areas that I don't need. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to show you guys how to use an eraser to get in there and make sure you have what you need, and then we'll keep the chain. Okay, Go ahead and click OK. Now, you can see there's still a lot of stuff around the edges of my wrecking ball, and I want to erase that. So I'm going to come over here to my little tools, and so far we've only used our move tool here, but I'm going to select this one right here. This is the eraser tool. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to be able to erase anything. Now, I didn't do a very good job there, so I'm going to Command Z, Control Z, and I want to zoom in so I can look at my eraser better and erase and figure out what I'm doing. So I'm going to hold down Control plus and zoom in a few times, and I can move my fingers to look at what I'm doing. So I want to erase. I can start erasing like this, but this seems like a really small eraser for a lot of erasing that I need to do. So if I need to change the size of my eraser, up here in the corner, see, it shows that I have my eraser tool selected. Next to it, it says 15. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make my eraser a little bigger, and then I'm going to make it a little softer. The softer means that the edges aren't like a hard edge of my eraser. It's going to be a softer edge, and it makes it a little more neat. Oh, I went too far there, so I'm going to hit Control Z and just play around with this for a little bit and work on erasing all the stuff as good as you can around your wrecking ball. So I'll show you a little bit here. It does not have to be perfect. This is not something that we're grading. I am just giving you guys, you're working with this. So do your best. When you're doing your actual project, you do want to do a little better than this, but just kind of do your best. I like to erase a little bit at a time so that if I mess up, I can hit Control Z and not have to undo everything that I've been erasing. Okay. Now I want to get a little more into my chain, so I'm going to zoom in a little more. You can see your pixels now. And then I'm going to change my size to something smaller and kind of get in there too. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because no one's going to be looking at it that close, but try to get rid of the white in between the chains. Okay, pretty good. Zoom back out. Oh, I should get rid of some of that white, so I'm going to change my size again and kind of try to get this stuff. The better you do at erasing, the more believable it is that you're superimposing something on top of something else. It's going to make it look more believable and less photoshopped. So something to think about when you're working on your final project is really doing a good job with the erasing if you have to have it. Usually Magic Cut will do a pretty good job, but now you have the eraser tool in your little tool bag if you need to erase something a little better than Magic Cut. Okay, so right now if I try to pick up my wrecking ball, it's going to erase in the middle. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit Control Z here. And I'm going to go back to my move tool and I'm going to select that. And now I can pick it up. So I'm going to move my wrecking ball over here. And I want it to be about the same size and an angle as the string in the background. So from my corner, you can see I'm going to move it out a little further. I'm not clicking, I'm just hovering until little arrows appear, and then I'm going to rotate it like this. You do not need to hold shift down when you're rotating, only when you're resizing. So now I'm going to hold shift down. I'm going to resize my wrecking ball until it's about the same size as the one in the background, and it should look just like this. All right. The last thing we're going to add is a little woman, so it looks like the cat is knocking over a person. So we're going to click Find Her one more time, grab your lady, drag her in, and here she is. And yet again, we're going to go select Magic Cut. This time it wants to keep the sky and the sun, so we want to get rid of that. So we're going to erase all this with our gray. Okay, and then we'll kick red. We don't want the sun and we don't want the ground. A little bit of ground is fine. Oops. There we go. And go ahead and click OK for that. It's okay that the ground's there because you can't really tell, and then we'll pick her up and move her right in front of that wrecking ball. And that is it. All right, guys, that is that. Okay, so when I'm ready to export it, I'm going to save it because this is all done. I'm going to save it and export as a JPEG, same as last time, and then go ahead and click Save. Now, what if I wanted to keep editing this, say class ends early and I'm not done with my picture and I don't want to export it completely as a JPEG, which I cannot edit again. Instead, I can export it as a Photoshop file, which means it keeps all my layers and all the information of things I did and lets me go ahead and edit it. So I'm going to click File, Save as PSD. That means the Photoshop file, Save as PSD. and it's going to go ahead and save that as well. So I'm going to minimize this, and I want to move, I'm going to click into my downloads. I want to move both of those PSD and that JPEG file into my Photopea folder. I'm going to re-minimize. And then I also want to go ahead and put those in my Photopea file here on Google Drive. So I'm going to click New, File Upload, select one. Yours won't pop up like that. And then select the other, the PSD, upload that one. And that's there. Okay, so now it's all been saved. So let's go ahead and close out of Photopea. And let me show you what I mean by the two differences of how you open a JPEG, how it's not editable, and how you can edit a Photoshop file. So click the plus sign right here and go ahead and go back to Photopea one more time and click open from computer, okay? So if I open up my JPEG one, it's all one big file. You guys can see that. It's all one big file and it's all attached. I can't move things around. But if I go to Photopea here, open from computer, and I open up my PSD, I still can move everything how it was, and everything is back to how it was before I saved it as a JPEG. So I hope that explains the two differences between the two. So the last thing you're going to do today is you're going to open your one more tab. You're going to go back to Google Classroom. And you're going to go and upload the two things that we finished today. So we did the butterfly and we did the cat picture. This is taking a while to load. And we're going to upload those two files to the classroom assignment. So go back to your classroom, click on classwork. When it loads. And this time you're going to click on the assignment, submit practice files here, and you're going to upload the two files from there into that assignment. And that is the last thing you're going to do. And then when you're finished, you're going to log out. So you're going to click the apple, and then you would scroll down and click log out, and it'll say your LASID there. Mine says my name, but yours will say your LASID. And that completes your tutorial.